Hola, mi gente! First podcast in English of the week. Yeah, Saturday was International Women's Day. International Women's Day. And I think that to know what it means to be a black woman, an African woman, in 2025 in many African countries, all you have to do is to look at the way they celebrate International Women's Day. You look at a country like Cameroon that I know a little bit about. I don't know a lot about Cameroon, but I know a little bit about Cameroon because I was born there. I haven't lived there since 1993, but I know a bit about Cameroon. So what do they do in Cameroon on International Women's Day? They have a parade or the first lady that I like. I like the first lady of Cameroon. I like her. I think people are too tough on her. Given the Cameroonian context, I think you can't be too tough on Chantal Biya. I think, that's my opinion. People can disagree. I will respect their opinion. But anyway, so on International Women's Day in Cameroon, they do a parade that the First Lady of Cameroon, she presides. She's there. And they make women from all walks of life walk. And I was watching briefly because I was going to do this episode about International Women's Day. So I watched, the parade for 2025 a little bit. And I was, um, what's the word? I'm trying to be polite. I was, um, it made me desperate. It made me sad. In 2025, as a physically challenged Black woman, as a physically challenged Black woman who was born in Cameroon, watching that parade made me feel small. Because at some point, there were old women who were walking with crutches, with a cane, and they had to walk, to parade themselves in front of the First Lady. The First Lady here is not the issue, it's Cameroon that is the issue. And I was thinking, what is the point? Why do they make old, disabled women walk in front of the First Lady, in front of ladies who are in the higher up, in the higher classes of society? Why do they do that? Those old ladies with disabilities, most of them, many of them, had to wait their turn. They had trouble walking, and they made them do that. And I was thinking, how shameful that is. That is shameful. I was expecting the women who were watching to calm down and to assist them and to say, you know what, we're going to do this together. You are our mothers. You are our grandmothers. You have a disability. We're not going to let you walk with the sun so that we can make a show of it, so we can say to the world that Cameroon thinks well of women when everything shows that it's wrong. That is not true. The parade shows that single part of the parade tells you everything that I've been saying about disability in Africa, especially when the subject is an African woman, old women who probably can't do much anymore. I shouldn't say can't do much, but who are probably dependent on so many people who are, if they're making it, doing it by fighting for everything because there's nothing in Cameroon for people with disability. I shouldn't say that. There isn't a special office, something that shows that Cameroon cares about people with disability, about people with disabilities. I had this experience one of the few times I came back to Cameroon. I was there to present my first book. The title of it is, I'm going to say it in French, L'empreinte des choses brisées. And I had to go to the first Cameroonian university in Yaoundé, I think. And I went to the campus, and I was trying to give, a copy of the book to this very, very well-known college professor. And I couldn't get out of the car because it wasn't accessible. There was no way that with my crutches at the time, because I hadn't had yet my amputation, that I could even get around the campus. And throughout that day, I wondered how my life would have been if I hadn't been able to get out of Cameroon, to go to New York, and to have an education. I never, Mihente, I never doubt of the fact that I'm very, very lucky. That that despite my struggles, despite my story, that is a tragedy, despite my dad's story, that I'm very, very privileged. I don't doubt that. But my experience shows that despite the fact that I'm privileged, despite the fact that I am the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in Cameroon, I've had struggles that are just unbelievable. But the subject now is not me. It is those women. It is International Women's Day in Cameroon. It is how difficult, how tough it is in 2025 to be a black woman on the African continent. In Cameroon, I think it's one of the toughest places given the current situation. It's not just political, it is social. So when Cameroonian authorities think that it is acceptable to make women of a certain age with disabilities walk in front of the First Lady, I am wondering, what the hell are they thinking? What is the message? Who should be um, serving whom? Who needs help here? Who needs to be saluted? Who needs to be thanked for their courage? Like I said, I like Chantal Biya for the reason that I've already stated. She gets a raw deal. She has had no other options than to be the way she is. But when you look at the whole thing, you wonder why women are just expected to be trophies no matter how old they are. They're expected to just serve. They're expected to just walk. They're just expected to just follow the line. I remember, I think it was 10 years ago in Brussels. I went to the celebration for the International Women's Day at the Embassy of Cameroon. And I remember the ambassador gave a speech about women and about whether the world would be a better place if women had the power. And surprisingly, all the women in that party, let's call it that, were saying, no, no. And I was sitting with this woman who said, no, if a woman is president, she's going to steal my husband and she's going to say, who cares? That was the level of this discussion. International Women's Day that day was about wives, widows, and mothers. Women were not really celebrated for who they are. It was about wives, mothers, widows. You can't be valued in Cameroon. I'm not going to pretend that Cameroon example is the same for every African countries. I can't say that. I suspect that it might be the case, but I can't say that. One of the example in pop culture that shows you the place of African black women. If you listen to any, you know, songs popular sang by I'm not going to state any name, but what do they say about women? Body, your body, chop money. It's always physical. You have to be strong. Your woman, my everything. Beep, 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 boom, boom, pop, beep, 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 puff, 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 puff. Voilà. The African man is always trying to buy the woman. He wants her to become his mother, to take care of his house, to take care of him, to become the mother of his kids. And to basically, yeah, she's gonna mother the mothering thing. She's supposed to serve the man, to come after him. That's the African thing. She's always gonna say yes. She's always gonna take care of him. She's always gonna wonder when he comes back from home. Even if she works, even if she makes more money, even if she comes from a better family. That's her man. That's her father, the papa, the king. So you have to basically, because he bought you the dowry, he went to your family and basically gave them money, and then now that you're married to him, you belong to him, you're his wife. You have to take his name. You have to bring kids to the world. They will have his name. Blah 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 blah. People are gonna say in the comments that this is like old stuff. That I'm exaggerating. That my point of view is the one of a Western woman. That Afro feminism is different. Whatever tradition, African. Blah 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 blah. No, no. So yes, being a black woman in 2025 is very, very, very tough. And if you're an African woman, it's even tougher. Not because we are competing for victimhood, but because of African countries and because of African states, you know, and because of African societies that are still, fighting to become independent. So women, when they try to contribute, there's always this temptation to say, they're not strong enough. They are slowing us down. That is why people say to African with disabilities, when you make disability an issue in Cameroon and everywhere else, people feel like you're trying to get more. You're trying to get sympathy, pity. You want people to pity you. You want more of the pie. People are already struggling. Why should they, you know, care about somebody who's like less, who has a physical problem? Why? And why would you care about somebody if that person is a woman who will be a woman? Why would you want somebody that's going to belong to you to have something less? So that's the struggle. So when I was watching the parade in Cameroon for International Women's Day, I thought of Cameroon societies. I thought about the Cameroonian institution. I thought about Cameroon government, the ministers who are women in Cameroon, the politicians who are women in Cameroon, whether they're a member of the Assembly of the Senate or, mayors, they are almost all the time playing the same role. They're almost all the time the wife of somebody, the daughter of somebody, or somebody who made money in some way. No, they are incredible women in Cameroon and everywhere else on the continent, on the African continent. Black women, whether they live in America, Brazil, or wherever else, when they fight the good fight, are always exceptional and they have to be applauded. But there's a system. There is always the temptation to become superficial, to become something else, to become a doll, to become a cheerleader of mediocrity. So yeah, International Women's Day in Cameroon. And I'm betting in many other African countries, women's rights are people We always talk about, the African men, their right to have many wives. Look at the president of Senegal. I'm not making a comment on his right to have two wives. I'm just stating that no African woman would have the right to be that flashy with her rights. They will always say to her, be discreet, don't make too much noise. You have to serve. You always have to remember that you're the mother of somebody. That's why African women, when they get to a certain age, even guys, even men, even anybody who's a bit younger, he might be 5 years or 10 years, even 14 years, they're going to start calling you mother, maman. I, to me, that's unbelievable. When I turned 30, I'd be people who were just like 20 were calling me mother, and I was like, really? And the funny thing is, guys, men who were about like 20 years older, who were like 50 and older, would never call me daughter. They would always call me my little sister because they're not, they're not old. They can always, excuse the term, but they can always have sex. I was going to say something else. They can always have sex with a younger woman because a man is always young. He matures. Women gets old. Guys mature. Women get old. People who are about 10 years, even 15 years, call you mother. But guys who can be your dad, call you my little sister because they don't want to think that they can have a daughter who's that old, even though they can, even though more often than not you're the age of their daughter, but they always want to, they don't want to give up the privilege of marrying anybody that they want. They don't want to give up the privilege of being able to sleep with anybody, any other woman that they want. So, yeah, International Women's Day in Cameroon, a parade with women who just offered, a piece of cloth. In Cameroon, we call that, in French, we call it a pagne. It's an African clothing. I don't know how to say it in English, which is weird. And that's it. And then women are going to get drunk. They're probably going to go to a bar and have as many drinks as possible. That's the only thing. That's what Women's Day is. You get a piece of clothing. You get a piece of clothing. There's a parade, and then people get drunk. You see how superficial there is. You know? Yeah. But in all of that mess, in all of that mediocrity, there's always a way for Cameroonians to make women with disabilities expose themselves, show that they are at the last place. They don't count. They have to um, gather all the strength possible to just walk in front of Chantal Biya. What's the point? The first public letter I wrote to Chantal Biya was 3 years ago for International Women's Day. And I told her anything that you can say about disability would have such impact. You don't have to talk about me. You don't have to talk about anybody. All you have to say, all you have to do, Mrs. Biya, is to say something about disability and to say that disability in a woman or in anybody else doesn't give anybody the right to do to them something that is immoral and something that is illegal. Yeah, the First Lady so far hasn't done it. But again, it just shows that in Cameroon, disability isn't sexy. It isn't flashy unless you use it to make a point about something else, a political point. So yeah, all of that explains why so far my story, my struggle is invisible, is inaudible, because all people see is my name, my dad's wealth, which isn't my wealth, and they don't see me the fact that I'm an attorney, an American attorney, member of the District of Columbia Bar Association, that I'm a writer, and that yes, I can speak my mind. So yes, Yante, I wanted to just ramble a bit about International Women's Day and talk to you about the parade in Cameroon. In America, I think that those issues are still prevalent. I'm not going to say that Black women get it better in America, although they do. But that is not the point. The point is never to say that because in other countries it's worse, that women in America or in any other countries should just be glad to have it better. No. Equality isn't about accepting less because women elsewhere, people elsewhere are even getting a tougher deal. No. So yes, solidarity, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. But man, it is tough. It is tough. And I will close today's podcast with this thought. You know, the most impactful thing that Kamala Harris said was that she wasn't aspiring to be humble. That was the most impactful thing that she said. And I think that it was courageous of her to say that instead of just, excusing herself for not being a mother, for not just being Black, for not being able to hide the fact that she had great ambition for herself and for her country. All Black women, all African women, all Cameroonian women should not aspire to be humble. Don't be humble, guys. Don't be humble, my sisters. Be you and be excellent if you can. That's it, Miante. Follow my channel, please. And yeah, keep on watching. See you Thursday for another episode. Let me know how I'm doing, okay? Whether I'm starting to speak slowly and whether you like what I'm doing. You can write to me. You have the address contact@futso.org. See you Thursday, guys. On est ensemble.